Tonight the horizon holds something waiting for you. You feel it before you see it. A warmth in the breeze, like something ripened in the breath of the wind. The night unfolds slowly, as if it too is watching, waiting, exhaling. Over the gentle curve of the Earth's edge, a light stirs, not bright, not sharp, but round, heavy, and rising with a softness that belongs to old dreams. It isn't pink, not really, not the hue that the name might suggest. But as it lifts, wide and low, you understand why they whispered strawberry beneath their breath centuries ago. It isn't about color. It never was. You are standing at the edge of something old. A night that has carried the same round face for longer than your language can remember. In June, that face grows heavier, warmer, cloaked in the long golden twilight of summers. You approach. Your eyes follow the line of trees. The moon is brushing the tips now. It looks impossibly large, as if someone moved it closer in the sky. You squint. It still doesn't feel real. This is no ordinary full moon. No. This is the one the Earth saves for its first harvest. The one that the Algonquin called the strawberry moon. Not for its blush, but for the fruit it once foretold. For the way it crowned the beginning of sweetness, of baskets woven and hearts full. In the northern hemisphere, strawberries ripened only briefly. And this moon, it arrived exactly when it was time to gather them. The first full moon of June, the last moon of spring, the fruit moon, the love moon, the moon of knowing that something small and red and sweet could be a sign from the cosmos that life continues, not with thunder or revelation, but with ripening. So here you are, beneath it, a full moon at its lowest climb, barely lifting itself above the horizon, and yet it commands everything around it, even you. Even now, from a distance, it glows with orange-gold embers. That's no illusion. That's science. The atmosphere bends its light. The curvature of Earth stretches the spectrum. When the moon rises low, as it does tonight, it must climb through thicker air. Dust, moisture, and particles scatter the shorter wavelengths, letting the warm colors flood in. You don't see pink. You see memory. And memory is always tinged in amber. You look around. The silence feels older tonight. Trees hush their leaves. The air doesn't move fast. Everything is holding its breath for the moon. It's not just a phase, it's a ritual. And if you lean in just a little closer, the wind might tell you about ancient calendars etched in bark and bone, marked not by numbers, but by when the strawberries blushed under the moonlight. You're not alone here. You're never alone under a full moon. This one has seen countless faces lifted toward it. Children in clearings, elders with worn hands, lovers, astronomers, runaways. They've all waited beneath this same moon and called it by names you've never heard. Some saw it as a gateway, others a warning. But most simply let it watch them, like you do now. Breathe in. The light isn't bright, it's full, but soft, like breath fogging a mirror. That's how this moon appears when it hangs close to the Earth's surface, a result of what scientists call low-altitude luminance distortion. It casts wide shadows, blurs your depth perception, and makes everything feel just slightly off, like a dream you can almost control. You notice the crickets. They've changed rhythm. Perhaps they remember too. They remember that the June moon, when lowest, rises slowly. She takes her time. She doesn't shoot upward like her colder cousins. She climbs like a fruit ripening, inch by inch, second by second, waiting for the right moment to be tasted by the sky. You're standing in that moment, beneath the strawberry moon. And no, it isn't pink, but names are only the surface of a thing. Like skin to fruit, the truth, the deep, warm, pulsing truth, lives beneath. And tonight, the moon is telling it. Not with words, but with presence, with glow, with the strange way your chest feels like it's remembering something it never lived. The world is turning slowly, but the light remains constant. A silver yoke suspended over your life, over your town, over the oceans, over the lost cities, and the strawberry. Fields long since turned to dust. You breathe again. The moon breathes with you. And as you stare upward, a thought forms without language. This is what it means to be alive at the edge of a cycle, when things change not through force, but through ripening. You came here for the science, but something else has crept in. A softness, a story, a seed, and it begins not with facts, but with fruit. With the knowing that this moon, low and amber, is called strawberry, not because of what it looks like, but because of what it brings. Now, let us begin tonight's story. You tilt your head higher, eyes wide under the breathing sky. The moon is no longer rising, it has arrived, suspended just above the horizon like a secret you're not sure you're ready to know. You trace its outline with your thoughts, still low, still vast, still impossibly warm in hue, and still not pink. You've heard people ask it over and over again. Why call it that if it isn't the color of strawberries? You smile. The question comes from a place of assumption, that names must describe what things look like. But the sky doesn't follow such rules, neither do the ancients. The strawberry moon was never meant to mimic a shade. It was meant to mark a time. You learn that now, as your thoughts slip into rhythm with the stars. This moon, this name, is rooted in the rhythm of harvest. Not the kind with fields of wheat, but with low-growing vines and bright red sweetness tucked beneath green leaves. It was the Algonquin people, watchers of sky and earth alike, who named this moon not from sight, but from timing. June, a month of thresholds, the moment when the cold loosens its grip and warmth ripens the world, the moment when the first fruit of the year blushes under the sun, short-lived, tender, bursting with the sugars of life. That was the moment the moon appeared full in June, and that's when they knew the strawberries were ready. You picture them, those who came before, moving silently through forest paths, carrying baskets woven from memory and vine, looking to the sky not for beauty, but for guidance. The moon was their clock, their calendar, their guardian. And tonight, it's yours. The name traveled far, even across centuries. Early colonists and settlers adopted the term from native tribes across the northeastern woodlands, and it echoed onward, whispered in fields and diaries, passed into almanacs and farmers' guides. Strawberry moon, they'd say. Not pink, but ripe. Ripe with meaning, ripe with memory. This moon, unlike others, didn't portend war or death or blood. It marked sweetness. That, in itself, is rare. Because not all celestial names are so kind. You recall the wolf moon of January, named for howls in the dead of winter. The hunter's moon of autumn, stained with the chase. The blood moon, burned red in eclipse. But June brings fruit. The first gift. And isn't that something to feel even now? That the moon once told people when to gather? Joy? The name, then, becomes more than myth. It becomes a memory encoded in language, a survival instinct turned into poetry. And when you think about it, the name Strawberry Moon is perfect. Not because of hue, but because of heart. It reminds you that not all celestial events are warnings. Some are blessings. You shift your gaze now, letting the moon fall just outside your vision. Sometimes you see more in the periphery. And sure enough, a star glints, near the edge of the moon's soft halo. Possibly Antares, the heart of Scorpius, flickering like a breath just taken. You remember what astronomers say? The June full moon often travels along the lowest arc of the year's lunar path. Because of the tilt of the Earth's axis, the full moon nearest the summer solstice rises farthest south on the horizon. That's why it appears to hug the Earth, and why it bathes the land in golden tones. It's not your eyes playing tricks. It's the cosmos aligning. The Earth tilts, and the moon answers, like a conversation across a vast distance, using only angles and shadows. You close your eyes. For a moment, you imagine you can feel that tilt in your bones, the slow, drifting lean of the planet under your feet. You aren't just a watcher of the sky, you're a part of its motion, a participant in its quiet turning. And so was every person who ever watched this moon before you. There's comfort in that. You, standing under this strawberry moon, share the same gaze that crossed the eyes of 1,000 generations, all staring upward, all asking the same soft question: what does this mean for me? And the moon, silent and slow, answers without words. It tells you that it's time. Time to gather, time to soften, time to taste what has grown in you since winter, because strawberries only ripen for a short time. And you've ripened, too, in ways unseen. Your thoughts return to the name again, rolling it gently through your mind. Strawberry. It's more than a fruit. It's an emotion, a season, a whisper that some things must be savored quickly, before they pass. That's why it's not pink. It doesn't need to be. Because what it brings is not seen. It's felt. In the tongue. In the heart. In the echo of footsteps returning from the fields. Baskets full, spirits lifted. You breathe slowly, the air slightly warmer than expected. You wonder if the moon makes the night itself feel sweeter. Or perhaps it's just you, remembering the story of why this moon matters. You open your eyes again, and it's still there, quiet, watching, waiting for you to remember what it once meant, and what it still can. You walk a little farther, leaving the edges of light from your home behind. The grass cools your steps. Somewhere in the distance, a bird calls once, and then falls silent. Even the nocturnal creatures seem to pause for this moon. You tilt your face upward again, still full, still watching. And now, as the moon glows over you like an open palm, you begin to hear a different voice beneath its light, one not made of science, but of story. The Algonquin peoples, watchers of both forest and firmament, named this moon for the wild fruit that rose from the earth just as the moon crowned the sky. Not cultivated, not tamed, these were strawberries as nature offered them. Small, wild, red with memory. Their ripening was brief, their sweetness earned, and so the moon that lit the way to them was held sacred. In some Algonquin tales, strawberries were seen as symbols of rebirth and reconciliation. One legend tells of the first man and the first woman who quarreled and walked away from each other. But as the woman wandered through the woods, strawberries began to grow at her feet. When she stopped to gather them, her heart softened. She remembered love. She turned back. And in the glow of the strawberry moon, they found one another again. You think about that now. About how sometimes the universe leaves small sweetnesses on your path to stop you from walking away too far. Even in stories, the moon doesn't command, it invites. You kneel slightly, touching the earth. The soil is cool, but it holds the day's warmth. If you closed your eyes, you might imagine the berries growing here too, little red hearts pulsing just beneath the leaves, waiting to be noticed, and above them, the moon. Always the moon. Other tribes had their own names for this time. The Ojibwe called it the blooming moon. The Lakota named it the moon when berries are ripe. The Haida referred to it as the berries ripen moon. Even across vast lands and languages, the message remained. This moon was about nourishment, about timing, about life returning to the body after long, cold months of waiting. You stand again, feeling your own heartbeat now. It is slow, steady, like the earth itself. There's a rhythm tonight, not fast, not loud, but insistent. It's in the air. It's in the leaves. It's in your own breath as you exhale beneath a sky that has seen more than you ever will, and still, it glows. Not pink, but perhaps better. The idea of color fades now, replaced by something more honest. Experience. Memory. The way a moon can carry the scent of strawberries even if none are in sight. You think about how every human culture, in its own way, has tied the moon to fruit, to tides, to birth and bloom. Why is that? You wonder. Perhaps because the moon is the great marker. Not just of months, but of becoming. Of cycles returning. Of old promises kept in silence. Even in modern times, when satellites circle and clocks tick digital, there's something unshakable about the full moon's timing. It doesn't care who's watching. It simply arrives. Just as it did in June of years long past, when hands reached into leaves to gather red fruit, and eyes lifted to the same light, and called it a blessing. You glance up again. It's a strange comfort, knowing the sky has always offered signs. Not answers, necessarily, but signs, a moon that tells you to look down at the earth, to notice what has ripened. Not in the stars, but in yourself. You think of what has grown quietly inside you these last seasons. A hope, perhaps. A longing. A dream you thought you buried. Maybe the strawberry moon doesn't just tell you the berries are ready. Maybe it whispers that you are, that it's time to gather what you've planted in silence. To reach into your life and find the things that have turned sweet when you weren't looking. A pause. Then wind moves through the trees like breath. You turn, sensing something shift. Not outside, inside. This is the part of the moon's gift no calendar will teach you. The part that cannot be explained by tilt or orbit or spectral scattering. The part where the world speaks through fruit, through story, through the hush of a woman halting in the woods to pick a berry and remember love. You look around. The shadows are longer now, not darker, but deeper, as if the night wants you to stay just a little longer, and so you do. You let the moon keep watching, let the soil press cool against your soles. Let the sweetness of something unseen settle inside your chest. Because the moon is not just above you. She is within the strawberry, within the story, within the turning of your own season. And her name is not Pink. It is remembrance. You walk slower now. The kind of pace that only comes when the air itself feels sacred. When every step carries the softness of a story being written. Not by you, but by the world. Above, the moon hasn't risen much farther. She's heavy tonight, clinging low to the curve of the earth, as if reluctant to leave the horizon. You wonder at her weight, not just her gravity, but her presence. She feels closer, more human. You recall what the astronomers say, that this full moon, the one in June, travels the lowest arc across the sky of any in the year. It's the opposite of December's full moon, which rides high and cold overhead. This one skims the edge of things, like a hand grazing water's surface, and that changes everything. Because of this low angle, the moon spends more time near the horizon, and more time filtered through Earth's atmosphere. This makes it appear larger, warmer, and somehow more alive. It glows not like a spotlight, but like a hearth, deep amber, copper, gold. But the color isn't in the moon, it's in the air. You think of it like this. The moonlight passes through, more atmosphere the closer it lies to the horizon. That atmosphere scatters blue light more than red, leaving the longer wavelengths, the warmer colors, to shine through. The result? A moon that appears closer, thicker, fuller of something. Unsaid. You stare at it, and it feels like it's staring back. In truth, it's a trick of the eye, the moon illusion, as scientists call it. When the moon is low, your brain perceives it as larger than when it's high overhead, even though its actual size doesn't change. It's an optical embrace, a celestial deception, but not a cruel one. It's as if the universe knows we need wonder sometimes more than fact, so it gives us both. A moon that scientifically does not grow, and emotionally always does. You take another breath, deeper now, slower. Everything about this moon invites slowness. The way it rises, the way it bathes the fields in thick silver, the way it turns leaves into soft mirrors. This is the only full moon of the year that seems reluctant to rise. It lingers. You can almost hear her sigh, old and golden, brushing the treetops like a secret. There are times in life when even the sky teaches you something by how it moves. Tonight, you learn patience. You learn what it means to rise slowly, to ascend with weight, to carry sweetness not in haste, but with care. And isn't that how strawberries grow? Not like wheat, tall and public, but low, hidden, slow to show, quick to spoil, and yet deeply rewarding to those who know how to wait. You look back at the moon and realize something strange. You've stopped needing it to be pink. The name no longer confuses you. It feels right, because this moon, this amber hanging just above the trees, is not about what is seen. It's about what is felt. You hear a rustle behind you, small, cautious, a deer maybe, or just the night stretching its legs. You don't move. You're part of it now, woven into the fabric of this moon's watching. You think of others who once watched from this very place, not this exact clearing, but a place like it. Maybe not even this land, but a land like it. They too saw the moon rise, low and wide. They too felt that breath catch in their chest, not because they didn't understand, but because they did. They knew that the low moon meant something, that it marked a moment, a shift, an invitation. You whisper aloud, though no one is there, to hear you. I see you, and the moon, in her ancient slowness, says nothing, but you feel seen anyway. You close your eyes and listen to the grass whisper, to the leaves settle, to the world lean slightly toward the sky, and when you open them again, the moon is still there, still low, still luminous, still holding the silence the way only something eternal can. It is not pink, it is not high, but it is enough, and you, beneath it, are ripening too. You step further into the stillness. There's no path, only suggestion, the kind that grows between tree roots and half-forgotten instincts. The moon, low and mellow behind you, now paints your shadow long across the earth, like an echo of your own quiet becoming. Tonight, everything is layered. Above you, moonlight filtered through dust and memory. Around you, the hush of a world half asleep, half waiting. Within you, something beginning to stir, not loudly, but with the hush of fruit slowly softening on the vine. You pause, letting your breath steady again. This time, you don't look at the moon. You let her shine from behind, a lantern for your back, not your eyes. The old ones would say that's how real change works, not by staring at it, but by walking through its light. And as you walk, you remember what you heard. That strawberries were once considered sacred across many lands, not just because they fed, but because they meant something. In Europe, long before global harvests and refrigeration, wild strawberries were fleeting, precious. They didn't ship well, they didn't keep. They came and went quickly. To have them was to hold the moment, and only the moment, so they became the fruit of the threshold, offerings and rituals of transition, from girlhood to womanhood, from mourning to healing, from spring into summer. The moon that oversaw their ripening was honored too, not as an object, but as an elder. In ancient Slavic folklore, a berry moon was considered a soft veil, a passage between the mundane and the magical, a time when herbs harvested would be stronger, words spoken under breath would last longer, and the intentions of the heart might just take root in the sky. You kneel, tracing the ground. No berries here. Not now. But the idea lingers. You wonder what it means to taste something so briefly that its sweetness haunts you for months. Then it dawns on you. That's exactly what this moon does. The strawberry moon is the shortest full moon of the summer season. Its golden rise is the lowest, and its glow fades soon after. The next full moon in July will ride higher, burn whiter, more direct, more declarative. But this one? This moon asks you to savor what is soft, to notice what doesn't stay, to love what ripens and vanishes. You rise slowly, fingers brushing your thigh where grass clung. The air is still warm with the memory of day, but it cools quickly now. The dew is starting to form. You feel it on your skin, not wet, but tender. A reminder that night is always coming, and yet there's still light. The moon still holds you. You think about the threshold again, about how this moon doesn't just mark fruit on the vine, it marks a turn in time, the final moon of spring, the gateway to solstice. It is the last sigh before summer exhales fully, and in this sigh, there is power, a power in subtlety, a power in not shouting. The ancient Chinese believed that strawberries, though not native to their soil, resembled the red fire of summer yang energy. In moon-watching tradition, June's full moon was a time to balance heat with grace, outward motion with inward stillness. the kind of quiet strength that doesn't need to bloom loudly to be alive. You exhale, realizing how long you've been holding the breath of this moment. This moon, this low golden elder, is not asking you to change everything. She's just asking you to notice what's already changing. You touch your chest. There's something softer there tonight. Not sadness, not joy, just a kind of readiness. You've been growing too, quietly, underneath. And now, it might be time to gather. Like the berries, like the ancient ones who looked to the sky and knew, this is the moon that ripens the world. Not with fire, but with warmth. Not with force, but with sweetness. You turn again, letting the light fall across your face, and the moon, heavy, low, unwavering, meets you. Not in color, not in name, but in presence. And presence, you understand now, is the real fruit of this night. You stand still, letting your eyes adjust not to darkness, but to moonlight. It's a different kind of seeing. Less about sharpness, more about feeling. You don't need to trace every detail of the trees around you. The moon smooths them into silhouettes, shapes of memory rather than matter, outlines of what was, what is, what waits. Your shadow lies long and strange across the grass, distorted by the angle of the moon. It isn't just you. Everything looks different under a moon this low. Your hands feel heavier. The trees seem taller. The night stretches wider. This is the work of the moon illusion. You've read of it before. How, when the moon hangs near the horizon, it seems bigger than when it climbs overhead. Even though its size never changes. Your brain interprets the low-hanging orb as larger because it sees it in relation to the objects on the ground. Trees, hills, rooftops. And yet, isn't it more than illusion? Doesn't it feel larger too? Not in size, but in meaning? This is what science often cannot measure. The scale of feeling, the gravity of wonder, the exact weight of standing in a field and seeing something you know is ordinary, yet feels like a secret told just to you. You let your eyes wander. There's a quiet pulsing to the moonlight, not movement, but presence. It's as though the light doesn't just land on things, it listens. You sense this in the way your skin prickles, not from cold, from awareness. You are being watched, not in fear, in recognition. And the world under this moon, it's softer, not just in color, but in edges. Harsh lines disappear. Everything rounds out. Shadows curve instead of cutting. It's a moon that smooths the world into something more forgiving. You remember reading about how, when the moon is low and amber, photographers and painters call it warm silver. It's the light of memory, the kind of glow you imagine in a story told beside a fire. You breathe, and the thought comes uninvited. Maybe the world is supposed to look different sometimes. Maybe perception is the message. After all, what good is a celestial event if it doesn't change how you see? The moon illusion isn't a lie, it's a lesson. Things closer to the edge always feel larger. Things touched by the horizon, by limit, by ending, by turning point. They carry more emotional weight. That's why this moon, low and golden, swells your chest when you look at it. It's not deception, it's design. You begin to understand what it means to see through the moon, not at her, but through her, like a lens into everything else. Tonight, she is your guide. She shows you how light can be thick and still, how perception can reshape reality, how the way you see the world is part of the world itself. And under this light, emotions deepen. The present thickens. Even your thoughts grow rounder, softer, more forgiving. You are not the same person you were yesterday. You don't need to be, because this is the moon of perception, and perception, in the end, is the beginning of every story. Even the berries knew this. They ripened unseen for days before anyone noticed. Then suddenly, overnight, they became bright, undeniable, sweet. It wasn't the fruit that changed in an instant. It was the eyes that finally saw it. You wonder now, what has ripened in your life without your noticing? What sweetness has been growing slowly, patiently, just out of sight, waiting for this kind of light? You exhale, longer this time. Your shadow shifts. The moon has climbed, but only slightly. She's still low, still whispering through the atmosphere's thick breath, still brushing the edge of everything you know. And you let her teach you, not through explanation, but through presence. That sometimes, to see something truly, you must see it differently. You must let it loom low. You must let it feel large. And that illusion, that perception, is not a flaw in your mind, but a doorway. A reminder that not all truth is about precision. Some truth glows, rises, changes the world simply by the way it is witnessed. Like the moon, like this moment, like you. The wind carries a change now, not in speed, but in feeling. A subtle shift, like the turning of a page you weren't reading but somehow knew by heart. The moon is higher, just barely, but it still lingers in the lower bowl of the sky, like something ancient hesitating at the edge of speech. Her glow no longer spills in gold alone. A trace of silver enters the mix, cooler but still gentle, still soft. You walk slowly toward a small clearing. There, you sit. The ground is uneven beneath you, but the unevenness feels real. It feels earned, as your breathing evens out, your mind wanders, not away from the moon, but deeper into her history, into the old names. You begin to hear them in the wind, not as voices, but as echoes. From the British Isles, you remember the mead moon or the honeymoon, names given to June's full moon for the time when honey was ripe and sweet, and weddings were most commonly held. From this name came our modern honeymoon, a whisper of union beneath the strawberry sky. In Europe, peasants marked the rose moon for the month when the roses bloomed and bled, their scent into warm nights like this one. The moon wasn't pink there either, but the name lingered, like perfume on the wrist. In parts of East Asia, this time was known by the lotus moon, for the flower that opened in sacred ponds just as the solstice approached. Petals, like pale prayers, offered upward. Every culture saw the same orb, but called her something different, and none of them were wrong. Because the moon, like truth, holds many names. She is not bound to one fruit, one flower, one metaphor. She is vast enough for all of them. You find that thought comforting, that what rises above us can carry every story we place upon it. She doesn't reject your myth. She absorbs it, and each name is a thread in her veil. You wonder what you would call her if you could name her now, not by science, but by feeling. Would she be the moon of second chances? The veiled heart moon? The moon that waited until you were ready? You feel your throat tighten. Some part of you, quiet and hidden, needed this. Not the data, not the facts, but the moment. The reminder that the sky above you is ancient and intimate at once. That something so far can still speak to something so near. You glance up again. The trees are taller now only because the moon makes them so. The air is laced with wildflower and damp earth, and you remember what one monk once wrote in a lost garden journal. The moon does not belong to one season. It leans closer in some months not to dominate, but to remind us. Not all ripening is visible. You let that settle into your bones. You think of all the things ripening in secret right now. A letter unwritten but forming. A dream whispered once, in childhood that never quite left. A grief unspoken that softens with time. And a kind of love, not romantic but universal, that grows when you let go of needing the moon to prove herself. She is enough, simply by being, and you, sitting. In the hush of her glow, among old names and wind-carried pollen, you are part of this, part of the naming, part of the story. You trace a finger in the dirt, drawing a slow, imperfect circle. The moon's shape, the earth's path, the unbrokenness of it all. Somewhere in the distance, a fox barks once, sharp and brief. Even the wild things are watching. Even the creatures that do not name still know. This moon is different. This moon is the moment before everything tips into summer, the last sip of spring. And like all things on the edge, she feels bigger than she is. You whisper a name, just for you. It doesn't need to be written. The moon hears it anyway. The night has deepened, but the moon has not hurried. She floats, not so much rising now as hovering, suspended in amber thought, as though unsure whether to climb or linger with you a little longer. You don't mind. In fact, you prefer it this way. This slow unfolding, this stretch of silver breath across the hours, and it is in this stillness that another memory surfaces. Not yours exactly, but collective, like a ripple in the human story. A time when farmers and lovers alike swore that this moon had power. Not the explosive kind, the quiet kind, the kind that entered the blood without warning and turned everything just a shade more vivid. It was said, in parts of Eastern Europe, that the June moon could stir the heart's juices, that its glow, soft as it was, could awaken desires kept dormant through winter. Fruit would turn sweeter under it, animals would rest less, and people would find themselves aching without knowing why. You feel that now. Not as longing, but as fullness, as if something within you has already bloomed. And the moon is only here to show you the shape of it. You run your fingers through the grass. It's dewy now. You hold one blade between thumb and forefinger and watch how the moonlight clings to it. Even the smallest things are caught in her glow. Above you, the sky stretches without cloud. But there's a slight halo around the moon, a soft ring born from ice crystals in the upper atmosphere. Lunar halo, they call it. You've seen it before. But tonight, it feels like a crown, a quiet coronation for a moon that rules not with force, but with memory. And with that halo comes an old belief that when the moon wears her ring, weather will shift. Rain may follow in days, crops will know, animals will feel it, and so will you. You look to the edge of the clearing. The trees are quiet now. Even the wind has retreated, as if giving the moon the floor. There's a sense that something is listening, that this moon and this night hold more than just beauty. They hold permission to soften, to feel, to remember what sweetness tastes like, even if just in metaphor. You think of how many full moons have been feared. Blood moon, worm moon, cold moon, names that carry edge and darkness and hunger. But this one reminds you that not all celestial events are omens. Some are invitations. This moon invites you to tend to yourself the way you'd tend to a field, to notice what needs water, what needs light, what needs time. Because something is growing in you. Always has been. Quiet, patient, rooted beneath layers of survival and forgetting. And now, under this strawberry moon, it's beginning to surface. You close your eyes and breathe in. The scent of damp earth, wildflowers, sky. Everything has slowed, even your heartbeat. It matches the pace of the moon now. Steady, ancient, aware, and as you sit there, wrapped in light that has traveled 238,900 miles to touch your skin, you understand. This moon does not demand anything from you. She doesn't even require belief. Only presence. Only the willingness to sit long enough that your thoughts quiet, and something older takes their place. A knowing, a softness, a ripening. You open your eyes again, and she's still there. Low, large, and full. The color of embers, the weight of sweetness, the shape of a circle, not perfect, but whole. You whisper, not to her, but to yourself. I am ready. You're not sure what for. But the moon nods anyway, and the wind picks up again, gently, like breath after a long pause, as if the world too has heard you. The moon casts your shadow long again, as if stretching it towards something not yet lived. You stand, legs tingling slightly from where you've sat too long. The air is changing, not cooling, but thickening, the way it does in the deep hours, when time itself feels swollen and the world slips from its ordinary form. Everything looks softer, dimmer, yes, but also smoother, like velvet painted in light. And it's here, in this hush, that you begin to notice something else. The shadows. Not just their shapes, but their behavior. They seem to stretch farther, linger longer, bend in ways that feel impossible. You watch as the tree beside you throws a shadow across the clearing. Not just dark, but deep, as if it were a pool you could fall into. You shift your stance, and your own form spills out before you like a second body. You blink, and the shadows feel like they blink back. This is the work of the low moon. Because of its shallow angle, the light travels sideways, long, grazing. It elongates everything, turns the simplest stump or stone into a towering phantom. This isn't illusion, it's geometry. Light at low angles stretches the form of what it touches, just as memories do. You think of the way childhood feels larger. In hindsight, how old grief looms longer than the wound itself. How love, once gone, echoes larger than when it was near. Low light reveals something we forget in midday, that all things cast long shadows when the source of light is close to the ground. And tonight, the moon is close to the ground. So shadows lengthen and truth stretch into myth. You step slowly, testing it. Your feet stir up dew. The grass resettles like sleeping thoughts. You move into your own shadow and feel for a moment that you've entered another version of yourself. You pause. Something stirs in you. A question, but not in words. What part of you only shows up in moonlight? What dreams, what fears, what tenderness wait quietly for the right kind of illumination? This moon, this amber eye hanging low and eternal, invites not just observation, but revelation. It shows the edges of things, not with sharpness, but with softness. A blur that makes you look twice. A distortion that feels more honest than clarity. You recall how ancient storytellers described nights like this as times when the veil thinned. When spirits walked, not as phantoms, but as echoes. When the land remembered things we've forgotten. And maybe it's not superstition. Maybe it's just shadow. Because when the moon lies low and its light moves sideways, everything around you feels revealed. Not clearly, but intimately. A fox moves at the edge of the trees. Not running, not hiding, just watching. Its shape warps in the grass, made taller by the moon's reach. You and the fox, two creatures watching the same moon. You wonder what stories it carries in its bones. If it too feels something changing. If it too waits for this particular night. The shadows continue to shift. They're not ominous, just honest. They remind you that light doesn't remove darkness. It only rearranges it. And the moon, old and low, seems to whisper, not everything hidden wants to stay that way. You think about your own hidden things, the parts of you you don't bring to daylight, not because they're shameful, but because they're fragile, like wild strawberries under leaves, like small, soft hopes that haven't yet found their time. But under this moon, this long-shadowed moon, even the shy things come forward. They stretch, they breathe, they dare. You feel your breath deepen again. It's becoming a pattern now. Inhale, pause, exhale. Like the tide, like the orbit, like a prayer without words. You look down. Your shadow still touches the edge of the clearing. And then you look up. The moon has barely moved, but everything around her has shifted. The light, the shadows, you. And suddenly, you understand something simple and profound. The moon does not rise to change the world. She rises to show you how the world already changes, quietly, slowly, in light that comes from an angle you didn't expect. You find yourself walking again, though there's no destination, only the quiet pull of curiosity, the kind that grows under ancient light and soil-scented wind. The moon follows, or perhaps you follow her. It's hard to say anymore. Her glow wraps the landscape in a gentle glaze, turning even the rocks into relics. The trees now look like they've stood for centuries, though you passed them just this morning without thought. Under moonlight, Everything gains history, and that's when you notice them, the circles. At first, they're barely visible, just the suggestion of shape in flattened grass. But as you step closer, the pattern emerges. Stones, placed deliberately, some upright, others half sunken into earth. Time has weathered them, but they endure. You are standing in a ring, not large, not grand, but old, an ancient moon circle. You've heard of these before. Stone arrangements built by hands long gone, aligned with the sky. Some mark solstices, others equinoxes. But many were built for nights like this, for full moons rising low and slow, for rituals whispered in the dark, for the old, slow heartbeat of earth and sky meeting. You step into the center and feel a stillness settle over you. It's not silence, it's presence. The way an old book feels when opened, the way a song feels before it begins. Above you, the strawberry moon hovers, right where the ancients placed her. Not by chance, by alignment. You. Remember what archaeologists have found. Circles across Britain, France, Scandinavia, even parts of North America. Rings of stone that line up with lunar standstills, solstice risings, or the strawberry moon's low arc in June. They weren't just monuments, they were instruments, calendars of the soul. You breathe in the thought, and your skin tingles. This place, this exact ring, was made to welcome this light. And you have walked into it without knowing. But maybe the knowing came before the walking. You look at the stones. They are not perfect. Lichen covers some. Others lean. One lies half buried. But the shape holds. The circle remains. And you realize, this is not about precision. This is about intention. They didn't build to control the moon. They built to honor her. To say, we see you. To say, we belong to this rhythm too. And tonight, you say it as well. Not aloud, but with every breath you take inside the circle. You close your eyes. The moonlight doesn't vanish. It lingers behind your eyelids, like an ember's glow. You feel the temperature shift. The tiniest breeze brushes your hair, like the sky remembering you. And in that breath, an image forms in your mind. A group of figures, cloaked in furs, standing where you stand. They are silent. They look up. They hold nothing. They need nothing. Only this. This moon. This moment. This circle carved from earth. You realize this is what ceremony really means. Not costumes, not words, presence, witnessing, connection. The ring around you becomes more than stone. It becomes memory, compass, container. It becomes proof that long before telescopes, people understood the sky. Not in numbers, but in feeling. They knew when the light changed. They knew when fruit would ripen. They knew when the moon called not for worship, but for attention. You place your palm on the nearest stone. It's cold, solid, real. But under the moonlight, it feels almost like bone. Ancient, warm from the inside out, and you think this stone has seen more strawberry moons than you ever will. It has known more silence, more soft laughter in the dark, more offerings of fruit or breath or simply presence. You stand again. You let the circle hold you, and in that stillness, one final thought. The moon was never meant to be explained, only met. And those who built these circles knew that. As do you, now. You step back out, slowly. Not leaving, but carrying. The ring doesn't disappear. It follows you, in your breath, in your spine, in the soft revolution of the world under moonlight. The circle fades behind you as you walk, but the feeling of it lingers. Like the hush after a bell has stopped ringing. Something inside you stays round, centered, quiet. The world itself feels slower now, and not in a tired way, in a sacred way. Time, under this moon, is not a clock. It is a ripening, and ripening has its own rhythm. You pass a patch of tall grass, its tips beaded with silver from dew. The moonlight clings to it like it's reluctant to let go. Everything the light touches tonight seems to slow down. Even the insects hum in half speed, like they too are listening. You look up again. The strawberry moon is still low, though higher than before, and her light is no longer so golden. It's turning paler now, cooler, but her presence hasn't lessened. If anything, it has deepened. She feels wiser now, more reflective, more maternal. And as you watch, a thought arises. This moon isn't about movement. It's about timing. You remember what the elders said, or maybe you've only just imagined them saying it, but it feels true either way. That time doesn't pass. It arrives, and this moon, she arrives not in haste, but in readiness. The last full moon of spring, the soft threshold before the fire of solstice. A signal not just to farmers and fruit pickers, but to those who live more in spirit than in schedule. She is the reminder. That time is not always a march. Sometimes it is a bloom. You sit again, this time on a mossy stone by a creek. Water trickles beneath you, so soft you wouldn't hear it without the silence. You let it pass, the sound, the water, the moment, the moon casts a path on the surface of the stream. Not a beam, but a shimmer, broken silver, trembling. A message perhaps too subtle for words. You lean back and let your gaze blur, and then you feel it. In your chest, in your gut, in the place where old grief and young dreams sleep. This moon is not about urgency. It is about softness. About what happens when you wait long enough for something to ripen. Not because you forced it, but because it wanted to meet you in its own time. You think about your life. How often you've pushed, rushed, chased, and how rarely you've allowed things to come to you. How you've measured yourself in clocks and calendars instead of seasons and sweetness. And now, this moon, this round, low, slow miracle reminds you, not everything must be hurried. Not everything needs to be known immediately. Some things are only understood once they soften, like berries, like hearts, like you. And so you close your eyes. Let your breath sink with the stream. Let your thoughts drift like pollen in air. The moon stays. She does not demand your focus. She does not require worship, only that you make room for her light. That you allow the fruit of your soul to ripen in silence. You feel the stillness grow inside you, not emptiness. Readiness, like a basket waiting. And in that moment, you know, time's softest marker isn't a bell. It's a moon, low, amber, silent, and full. The night is no longer young, and yet it refuses to end. There's a weight in the air now, not heavy, but meaningful. Like the kind of silence that lingers after someone tells you something you didn't know you needed to hear. The strawberry moon has climbed only slightly higher, still tracing its shallow arc across the southern sky. Her light no longer golden, no longer orange. Pale now. Almost silver, but not cold. Never cold. She radiates the kind of warmth that isn't temperature. The warmth of presence, of constancy, of being watched over by something older than memory. You sit by the stream longer than you meant to. Maybe an hour. Maybe more. Time slips under the water and out of your thoughts, carried off by the quiet current. And as you sit, you begin to feel it. The ache of those who have sat before you. Not just here, everywhere. Because for all the scientific certainty of this moon, she also carries something else. Something that lives in the throat, in the gut, in the part of the soul that cannot be mapped. You think of the stories passed down, of people leaving home under the full moon, never to return. Of goodbyes, whispered beneath this same light, of hearts that swelled and cracked open under the June sky. There's something about this moon that touches endings, not finality, but transition. This is not the moon of new beginnings, nor is it the moon of completion. This is the moon of departure. You feel it like a hush in your bones, the unspoken sorrow of things that can no longer stay. And it isn't tragic. It's necessary. Because, just like the strawberries, sweet, red, and gone too soon, not everything is meant to last. Some things exist to be tasted briefly and remembered forever. You touch the earth beside you, the moss, the roots, the stone, all unchanged, all waiting. But something in you has shifted. The moon is showing you something you weren't ready to say aloud, that goodbyes often arrive without words. And this moon, she's full of them. You remember now a story, half legend, half truth, of sailors who would wait for the strawberry moon before leaving on long voyages. They believed this moon brought favor for those who left, and peace for those who stayed behind. Some would carve strawberries into the wood of their ship's hull. Others would tie a red ribbon to their wrist, a promise to return. Not all did, but the moon still rose each June, holding the weight of every departure and every longing. You feel that now, not as sadness, but as recognition. You've left things, too. Places, people, versions of yourself. You've walked away under moons you didn't name at the time. And now, you wonder, was it this one? Was it always this one? The moon glows overhead, still low, still unwavering. She does not answer. She never does. But you sense she knows. She's watched too many goodbyes to count. And she's lit the path for everyone. There is comfort in that. You look across the clearing now, imagining others who might be watching this same moon. A woman in a distant city, stepping out onto her balcony, whispering goodbye to a love she can no longer hold. A father lighting a candle in silence, remembering the son who left for the coast, under this very sky. A child staring upward, not knowing yet what this moon means, but feeling it anyway. You are all connected, not by words, not by story, by moonlight, by the knowing that this moon marks something, not in calendars, but in hearts. You rise slowly, body stiff but spirit soft. You look up one more time, and the moon, silver, low, solemn, meets your eyes. And though she says nothing, you hear it. It's okay to leave. It's okay to let go. The sweetness was real, and that is enough. You close your eyes, and you say your own goodbye, not to the moon, but to the part of you that needed this moment to remember. Some things are brief, but their beauty is eternal, like fruit on the vine, like footsteps in dew, like the light of the strawberry. Moon, you walk now, not quickly, but with direction. Not away from the moon, but deeper into her glow. There's a feeling in your chest, one you can't quite name. It isn't sorrow, though it brushes against it. It isn't joy, though there's something light blooming behind your ribs. It feels like acceptance, as if something inside you has loosened. The moon is no longer your focus, but your companion. She doesn't demand attention anymore. She simply is, and you trust her to be there. That's what constancy feels like, you suppose, familiar and profound. You come upon a break in the trees. A small hill rises before you, crowned with nothing but wild grass and sky. You climb it. The earth gives softly beneath your feet. Dew kisses your ankles. When you reach the top, you stop and look out. The land below is quilted in shadows and pale silver. And the moon, oh, the moon. She is nearly at her highest point now, still low in comparison to her seasonal siblings, but she holds herself with grace. Her roundness glows without sharpness, a lamp behind fogged glass. And here, at this height, something stirs in you. A kind of wonder. Not the sharp awe that startles, but the slow realization that you are very, very small. And yet, somehow part of it all. The moon does not orbit for you, but she includes you anyway. You lie down in the grass. Feel the tickle of blades on your arms, the cool of night pressed gently against your spine. You gaze up, and it's there that the thought comes. This is love. Not the kind sung in songs or written in letters. The other kind, the ancient kind. The kind that exists without explanation, without condition. the kind that's been watching you since before you knew how to look back. The moon doesn't know your name, but she's always known your shape, your breath, your shadow. She's seen you through windows and windshields and tears, and now she sees you here, still, quiet, breathing beneath her. You think of the ancient cultures again, of how they saw the moon not just as a body, but a being, a force, a teacher. The Maya believed she governed more than tides. She governed fertility, creativity, madness. To them, her phases were the breath of a cosmic woman whose dreams shaped the world. The Celts honored her through ritual, circles, fire, song. They believed the June moon was the time for inner blooming, for letting the fruit of your spirit rise, ripen, and be shared. In parts of Japan, the moon was not something to conquer with science. It was to be admired in silence. Tsukimi, they called it, moon viewing, an event not for revelation, but reverence. You understand that now, that witnessing is an act of love. You don't need to do anything. You don't need to change anything. You only need to stay long enough for presence to unfold. And so you stay. You breathe, and the moon breathes with you. You think about your own phases, your own orbits, the way your heart has waxed and waned, the way you've grown in darkness, the way light has sometimes been too bright, too soon, too much. But tonight, the light is perfect. Warm enough to feel held, cool enough to not overwhelm, balanced. Like you feel the grass holding your body like a cradle, the sky above you like a wide, dark river, the moon, full, steady, like a lantern left on by someone who still believes you'll come home. You whisper nothing. You just lie there, and you let her look at you. Not because you are special, but because you are here, and here is enough. The hill, the moon, the wind, the breath. It's all one thing now. One quiet story told without words. One moment of being in it instead of thinking about it. And that, perhaps, is what the strawberry moon is truly for. To remind you, there is a season when all you must do is lie still and let yourself be part of the sky. The moon rests in its full roundness above you, and you, still stretched out on the hill, rest beneath her like a mirror of her curve. The earth cradles your back, and the sky cradles your thoughts. You feel small, but not insignificant, more like placed, as if you've been set down exactly where you were meant to be. The air is changing again, cooler now. The kind of cool that comes not with warning, but with release. The first exhale before dawn, the scent of soil, sky, and something else, maybe memory, begins to deepen. You sit up slowly, as if emerging from a dream. Your body feels heavier now, not with weariness, but with something full. A kind of completion that needs no applause. The moon looks paler now, though still full. She's no longer rising. She's gliding westward, toward the long descent. Her journey is halfway done. And yours, this night you've wandered, watched, and wondered through, is nearly complete. But not yet. Not until you understand the final sweetness she holds. You think about what people used to do on nights like this. How they'd gather under moonlight, not to talk, but to listen. Some brought strawberries, not to eat, but to leave. Small offerings on stones, beside trees, into fire. Not because the moon needed them, but because humans did. We need something to give when we feel full. You reach into your pocket, instinctively, though you brought nothing with you. Still, you pick a blade of grass, smooth and long, and lay it across your knee. You don't need fruit tonight. You have breath. You have presence. You have the whisper of old stories circling in your chest. And you realize, this is why people wait for the strawberry moon. Not for the spectacle, but for the sensation, the emotional, ripeness it brings. It's not about the color of the moon. It's about the color of your attention. How it shifts when you give it time. How it softens when you let yourself be still. You lie back down, just for a moment more. The stars have faded. Slightly, the moon's glow is too strong even now, but you can still trace a few constellations. Scorpius, its tail coiled behind Antares, the bright red star. And just east, the beginning of Sagittarius rising. You remember reading that, during the June full moon, the galactic center, the very heart of the Milky Way, begins to emerge in the night sky, that you're not just under the moon right now. You're beneath the turning core of the galaxy, the moon above, the heart of the cosmos behind it. You close your eyes, and the idea settles in. You are between things, between the ripe and the harvested, between the moon's rising and her setting, between spring and summer, between breath and thought. This is the essence of the strawberry moon, a season not of doing, but of being full, of knowing what you've become, without needing to define it, of tasting the fruit that's grown quietly inside you. You think again of those who sat beneath this moon before you, the storytellers, the travelers, the ones who gathered strawberries in dawn's first light after a night of watching the sky. You are part of them now, whether you speak their language or not, whether you ever leave an offering or not. Your presence was the offering. Your stillness, the ritual. Your breath, the hymn. The moon begins to tilt westward now, her arc subtle but visible. You sit up again. The hill is quiet. The sky, lighter on the horizon. A grayness just beginning to pool at the edges. Soon, the sun will rise, but not yet. There's one more moment left to hold. You watch the moon one last time before dawn takes her, and she, in her eternal rhythm, says nothing. But in her light, you hear the unspoken words, you are part of this. You always were. Now go. Not to chase, not to gather, but to live full. You nod, you rise, and you begin to walk back, carrying not a story, but a sweetness. One not tasted by tongue, but by soul. The horizon begins to whisper with light. Not sunrise, not yet, but the prelude, a breath held between worlds. The stars thin, paling one by one, like embers losing their fire, but the moon remains. She's lower now, not fallen, but folding into the earth again. And you follow her descent, walking slowly down the hill and through the tall grass, as if retracing your steps from a dream. This is the part of the night most people never see, the last moment before the full moon yields to morning, when the world stands still, balanced between glow and day. The air smells different here, damp, honest, as if it's carrying all the stories the night couldn't finish. You pause beneath an old tree, one you passed earlier. In daylight, it was just a tree. But now, under the moon's final breath, it feels like a witness, a guardian of thresholds. You lean your back against its trunk and look once more at the sky. The moon has faded to a soft, washed pearl. Her golds are gone, her reds too. Only the quiet white remains, and still, she is full, still whole, and so are you. You remember what this journey began with, a question, quiet and curious. Why is it called the strawberry moon, if it's not pink? And now, after walking these hours beneath her slow light, the answer is no longer academic. It's felt, it's tasted. Not with the tongue, but with the breath, with the blood. It was never about color. It was always about season, about timing, about ripeness. This moon was named not for what it looked like, but for what it called forth. The Algonquins saw the fruit. The Celts felt the bloom. The mystics heard the goodbye. And you have seen all of them tonight. You think back to the people who waited for this moon to tell them what to do, when to harvest, when to marry, when to begin a journey, when to simply be. They knew something we are learning to remember, that you can live by the light of something that doesn't burn, that a soft glow can guide just as well as fire. You sit one last time, knees pulled in, arms wrapped around them. The moon hovers just above the trees now, ghostly, fading. And in this liminal space, not quite night, not quite day, the final truth comes. You were never looking for an explanation. You were looking for a feeling, for the moment when the world slows enough that your spirit can catch up, for the sweetness you didn't know you needed. And the moon, silent, steady, silver, gave it to you, Without asking, without promise, just by being, you close your eyes and thank her. Not aloud, not in prayer, just in the way your breath deepens, in the way your feet root into the earth, in the way your heart softens again. Then you stand, not to leave the moon behind, but to carry her forward, in your pace, in your perception, in the way you will now look for the ripeness in all things. You take your first step toward home, and though the path ahead is touched with gray, the memory of her amber light follows you, a thin thread of sweetness through the spine. The strawberry moon is setting, but something in you is still rising, not quickly, not loudly, but fully, as it was always meant to. You will wake tomorrow, and the moon will be gone, not truly but hidden, sinking behind trees and rooftops, her full shape now memory. The sun will rise, unapologetic in its brightness. The rhythm of day will return. Lists, messages, footsteps, noise. But something will have changed. Not outside. Inside. A thread of stillness will remain, woven through your thoughts like a silver string, and when you pause, just briefly, you'll remember what it felt like to sit beneath the strawberry moon. Not because it was pink, not because it was rare, but because it asked nothing of you, except to be present. You'll recall the stories, yes, the old names, the ancient beliefs, the way the shadows lengthened like whispered myths. But even more, you'll remember how you felt, quiet, rooted, enough. The moon will rise again, in other phases, in other seasons. She will become crescents, slivers, veils. But this full version, this round, low-hanging sweetness, will live inside you now. And when next June comes, you'll know to watch for her, to step outside, to sit with her again, not to see her, to remember yourself. Because the moon, in all her phases, is not just a celestial body. She is a cycle of you, of your becoming, of your letting go, of your returning. And in the soft light she leaves behind, you carry the truth. You are not behind. You are not late. You are only ripening, and ripening takes time.